Now that you've found UBN Radio and discovered our quality talk shows, it's time to spread the word to friends, family, and the universe. 24 hours of music and talk. Radio without limits. That's why people keep coming back for more. That's UBNradio.com.
Jump off that exhausting hamster wheel and into balanced living with Dr. Marissa.
Promise you joy in the mystery.
Dr. Marissa, also known as the Asian Oprah. Her mission, to be a beneficial presence on the planet. Her purpose, to be your personal advocate to live, laugh, love, learn. Her life motto, don't die wondering. Take back your life with Dr. Marissa Stands.
And welcome you to my weekly talk radio show called Take My Advice. I'm not using it. Get balanced with Dr. Marissa every Tuesday at naturally high noon out of the Sunset Gower Studios in Hollywood, California, and every Thursday on my syndicated CNBC, NBC, and NBC Sports channel, KCAA, AM 1050, FM 102.3, FM 106.5, and now syndicated on iHeartRadio. So I'm here to splatter you with hope and happiness. So there's no gossip, no scandal, and no K words at all. No Kardashian talking. Because I want you to focus on your own reality show and how you can be happy 88% of the time. So my guests and topics are to that end. And I start, last week, actually, we had a call-in show. And if you want advice on if you hate your job or if you hate your relationship or you want to get more fit, then please do go to my playlist on my YouTube channel, which thank you very much. I am now over 97,000 in 2 years of views, thanks to you. Go to the playlist and listen on and see if you can't find some free advice that I don't use to help you be happy 88% more of the time. And I'm going to start with my peace shout outs. The first one's a personal one. It is to my amazing daughter, Chloe May, who just left for her sophomore year at Cornell University. Yes, I'm a proud Tiger mom. I took her to LAX yesterday at 4 a.m. And both of my daughters are really the light of my life. And it's been great having front seats to watch them grow up into beautiful inside and out. And a big shout out to my U.S. Sailing Center team, and especially my skipper Sago and Janice from the other USC boat, who gave me the best dock birthday party for the dock. That's my nickname on the boat. And a peace shout out to my newest young clients, delightful young women who won scholarships for their college degrees. I got to coach them last weekend to prepare them for the AWE, Asian Women Entrepreneurs Annual Scholarship Luncheon, coming up on September 15th. My nomination, my past guest, Dr. Emily Latron, was also awarded the 2017 Lotus Award, which I'm honored to have won in 2014. If you'd like to support Asian women entrepreneurs, get your tickets at aweusa.org. And now, for today's show, Aaron Young is a renowned entrepreneur with more than 30 years' experience and several multi-million-dollar companies under his belt. Fully embodying the concept of unshackled business owner, he inspires others to do the same by empowering them to build strong companies while proactively protecting their dreams. I met Aaron at CEO Space International, #1 business conference for entrepreneurs to learn how to be successful, and we're both on faculty. You may have seen him on ABC, Entrepreneur, Forbes, and Inc. magazine. Please welcome to the studio, Aaron Scott Young. There's your standing ovation. That's it.
Wow. Thank you so much. You've got quite a team in there cheering away.
I do. The studio is overcrowded by extremely appreciative people.
But it's going to be a big day.
It is. Welcome to the show, Aaron. And as I have I have a friend, she doesn't have an answering machine. She has a questioning machine. And when you call her, she says, "Who are you and what do you want?" So, Aaron, who are you and what do you want?
Wow, that's a great question. No one's ever asked me exactly that. But who am I? I'm a guy who's been blissfully, happily married for 30 years. We have 4 great kids and 2 wonderful grandchildren and another one on the way. So I'm a dad, I'm a husband, I'm a grandpa, and I'm a goat farmer. And when I'm not busy doing all that stuff, I start companies, buy and sell companies. One of my companies called Laughlin Associates helps many tens of thousands of business owners to make sure that their businesses are safe and going the right direction. So I get to speak all over the place. I do a podcast and I do a little radio show too. And so mostly I think of myself as a dad and a grandpa and a husband.
Yep. And you have several distinctions which are not kind of normal, because you sound like a normal guy just now. So we all know you're not normal in a good way. In a good way.
Thank you. Tell me about my abnormalities.
I only connect with abnormal people, so please do take it as a compliment. We got to play together in Florida, and
Sure.
And your lovely wife. But you told a story when you keynoted there that I was kind of surprised about, and it made sense on why you call yourself an unshackled owner.
Yeah, it's so funny that those two things are I never thought of them as being connected, but maybe that's some kind of a Freudian thing.
Yeah,
so, yes.
You didn't? I thought you did that on purpose.
No, wouldn't it be great if I was really that clever?
Accidentally clever, Aaron.
I'm accidentally clever. Every now and again, I'll make a good fail forward mistake. But you're referring to, let me see, July 23rd. This last month, July 23rd, was the 10-year anniversary of my release from federal prison. So I spent about 14 months and 1 week in federal prison because of an IRS case that had nothing to do with me or my companies or my personal taxes, but because of somebody that I'd done a lot of work with. And when the IRS came to quiz me about that individual and their business, and I knew all these answers, they said, well, you either knew or should have known what was going on with this other individual. I don't know why the lights just went out in my office, but you still see me okay? Ooh, it looks like we're having a campfire.
But that was Freud. That was Freud.
Freud's going on. It was me. And
yes.
But anyway, yeah. So anyway, I fought for 3.5 years, spent about $2 million in legal fees because I thought,
you're innocent.
How can you go to prison for something you knew or should have known? That's the craziest thing I ever heard.
And there's one thing I want you to make sure you get in there. Sorry, I'm hijacking your story. Is that you thought you were doing them a favor, or you thought you were doing right. You thought you were doing what you should do as an upstanding citizen, and then by doing that, you end up getting yourself in trouble.
Yes, I did. I came in voluntarily. They had questions. They were exercising a search warrant for anything about this guy's company. And I was out of town with my family, just a few hours away. And I said, well, am I in trouble? I said, no, you're not in a target at all. So I drove in and I answered all their questions for a couple hours. Never even occurred to me to call a lawyer or anything, because there was no way in my mind that I could possibly have done anything wrong.
Right.
But it doesn't matter, because what I found out with dealing with the legal system is they had an agenda. They already had a story in their mind of what was going on. And when they asked me questions and I answered them, they filled in blanks of the story that they'd already created in their mind.
Right.
So it didn't really matter. But anyway, long story short is it happened. It was a tragic thing.
You fought for 2.5 years. You spent millions of dollars. You ended up taking the sentence. You ended up 14 months and 1 week. See, I listened. In the penitentiary. I wish we had found that. I meant to ask you to send that picture, because you and the most powerful guy in prison. That was a funny picture, actually. But
my bunkmate.
Yeah. So, but you did that. You came out, and were you ever pissed?
I was really pissed before, because I kept thinking I should be able to figure this out. There should be a solution to this problem. And I was very frustrated, and I was very scared, and it was very freaky for my whole family.
I bet.
but anyway, finally, my wife, who you mentioned a little bit ago, I keep trying to think, there's lights. They're motion activated, so I just turned it back on.
I'll clap.
Thank you. My wife said to me one night, we're laying in bed. It was pitch black in our room. And she said, are you awake? And I said, yeah, I can't sleep. And she said, what's the matter? And I said, I'm just so upset that we can't solve this problem. And she said, look, honey, she said, we have prayed. We have fasted. We have tons of people have written letters to the judge. We've spent almost $2 million in legal fees on the best lawyers we could find. We've done everything we can think of to do. And I don't know if you're religious or if your audience is, but I'll just say what my wife said to me. She said, God isn't letting you out of this one. And so you can continue to battle against the current and keep fighting against the current. Or she said, you can just give into this and lay back on your back and float down the river and try to enjoy the view. And it was such good advice. And it just, I thought, okay, you know what? Some of my greatest heroes through history have been in prison.
Right.
And
Mandela.
And as my lawyer said to me, again, not trying to make this into a religious thing, but my lawyer said to me, a guy from Washington, D.C., former Deputy Attorney General of the United States, #1 guy in the country over white collar crime. He said to me, they crucified Jesus Christ and he was a perfect man. And so he said, you're in good company. He said, you shouldn't be going to prison, but you are going to go. And, but he said, I'd love to have you over for dinner. I'd love you to have you as a neighbor. So anyway, it was kind of okay. When I got out, Marissa, the bottom line was I was so glad to be out. And I'd met so many people whose lives were so tragically more difficult than anything I'd ever been through.
Right.
That I thought, what I need to do is I need to take this experience and figure out what can I learn from it, and how can I use it as a case study or an analogy for people who are going through divorce or illness, or they've never had love, or the child died, or whatever their tragic thing was. How can I use this as a positive thing to relate to people? And you know how it is when you're on stage a lot. Yeah. When you're up on stage and the audience is sitting down here and you're the one featured and they're the one that paid to get in, there's this great chasm of separation, and they go, oh, well, it must be different for you. Right. When it's not. We're just all regular people. Yes. We just happen to have been asked to give a talk or made that into our living. But when I tell that story now, which I didn't tell for about 8.5 years, when I tell this story, people come up to me and they just hug me and they cry sometimes. And I'll get little whispers in my ear that says, I did 8 years, or my son's in prison right now, or I have cancer. I hear it all the time. Yeah. So that was, that's why you tell the stories, not to aggrandize yourself, but to connect with your audience.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And to answer your question, I am not religious, but I am spiritual. And I choose to believe that everything that happens to me is for my divine and best good. And anytime tragedy happens, it's breaking my heart wide open to develop another skill or to deepen a skill, quality, and ability that I have. So I can see, it wasn't great. And the only thing that I would twist a little bit is God didn't make this bad thing happen to you, and God doesn't make bad things happen to us. But in life, we have an opportunity to go through pain, which is the best chiseler of us into beauty that I know. If nothing bad happened, we would just be that rock, without chisels, that lump of stone. But the chiseling creates this amazing beauty, number one. Number two, I know that you have a better sense of humor now because of what happened. You are more compassionate. You are more appreciative. You're more grateful. You're more loving. You're more caring. You're more relatable. All of these things, it might have happened because of something else, but it did happen in here. And I know I wouldn't have liked you as much if you had not told that story. You would have just been another blah, blah, business, blah, blah, blah. So
some business guy.
Some business guy. So I truly, I talk about my past. I didn't talk about my abuse as a child or my very expensive painful $465,000 divorce, but who's counting? I didn't used to want to say, because I wanted to look perfect. I wanted to look like I had it all together. And I had the same thing when I started to share my truth, my story, my chiseling. It was this, wow, like, oh, wow, yeah, you get it. You know my pain. You understand. And there's nothing better than to reach people where they are in their heart, and then to be an example of, you know what? You don't have to feel like this forever.
Yeah, you don't have to be afraid. You can feel the pain. The pain's real.
Yeah. Pain is mandatory. Suffering is optional.
The you are being crushed to death right now.
Yeah.
But it's going to go away eventually.
Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah, it was a terrific story to learn, or a lesson to learn.
Yeah. And you got A+, baby. You got a 4.4 on that one. So let's move to business, because that's what you're really smart in. And I have listeners who, when they started, hated their job and hated where they were, and through a process of discovering their gifts and I bring in business people because I know I have a lot of entrepreneurs that tune in. And, I also, share my affiliation with CEO Space International, my newest, playground that I get to go to. So people who have businesses, what would you say the most common things that they can low-hanging fruit fix to be more successful?
Well, first of all, most business people that I meet don't have they don't know where they're going with their business. They're doing something. They're busy getting a sale, fulfilling on something that they've sold, or some service they've agreed to do. But they have never stopped to think about, where is it that I'm going? Like, why did I start this business in the first place? And what's the outcome that I want to achieve?
Right.
They're just busy doing the work.
Right.
And I think the lowest hanging fruit is get clear on the outcome that you want from the business, because it'll help you streamline what work you do, what work you ignore, what customers you go after, how you organize your business. I see it constantly. That's why that book, Michael Gerber's book, The E-Myth, The Entrepreneur Myth, which is about why companies fail. He wrote it. It was one of the first books I read. I don't know, it was in the early 90s when that book first came out, and I read it. And I've never lost sight of the fact that most people start a business because they know how to do the work. They're a good technician, but they're not a good business owner. They're not a good manager, and they've never learned the skill. Consequently, they suck at running a business. And
technical term there.
And that's why 80% of them fail.
Okay.
Because they don't have a place that they're going. They're just being busy.
Right.
Instead of being busy going somewhere. So the lowest hanging fruit is that. Second lowest hanging fruit is if you feel in your gut, if you know down here that you're an entrepreneur and you see a solution to a problem, or you see some product that could be created, or if this was just done a little differently, it would change everything. If you really feel that and see that, and you have a clear vision, just do it. Because a lot of us get thwarted by the people who love us the most, who are trying to look out for us and trying to say, boy, don't spend that money, or you're going to lose everything, or you just keep that great job, or what are you going to do about medical benefits? Or, thankfully, I married a girl. We agreed. She was going to be a homemaker. I was going to be an entrepreneur. She was 19. I was 22. And we had this vision of life. This was 30 years ago. And she supported me and these crazy ideas. And most of the time we did well, but sometimes we crashed and burned. There was a time when my awesome wife, Michelle, and our first two children, both in car seats, we had lost a business and we'd lost everything, had to turn our cars into the bank and everything. And we were able to get her an old Hyundai that we couldn't fix the starter on it. So she would have to park on a hill so she could roll start the car with two little babies in the back. And people look at us now and they see her successful in her own business, all the things I've done, all the stages, the homes, the travel, all the accolades, but they don't ever see that part.
Yeah.
And they go, I want what you have. And I'm like, what price are you willing to pay for it? Well, one of the prices you have to pay is to be committed to your vision, even when mom and dad and your friends are going, ooh, that's so scary. But you know what? Almost nobody else has the vision that an entrepreneur has.
Right, right.
And so you just don't, sometimes you have to ignore the voices of the people who love you the most.
Great advice. If you've just tuned in and you're wondering who I get to talk to today, it is Aaron Scott Young. He is the Unshackled Owner, helping us with some business tips here on Take My Advice. I'm Not Using It. Get Balanced with Dr. Marissa every Tuesday at Naturally High Noon and Thursday on my syndicated CNBC channel, AM 1050, FM 102.3, FM 106.5. And he has gone through quite a bit to unshackle himself physically, figuratively, and literally. And he just gave us some advice on how to really become successful. So let's go back to the first point, because let's say, let's use me for example. I am an accidental entrepreneur. It really is, it just dawned on me last December at my first CEO Space International that I was an entrepreneur, which is crazy. It's kind of you in the Unshackled awareness, because I have not worked for anyone outside of my internship with Coopers and Lybrand and Scott Paper Company way back when. I'm ageless, and I'm not telling you, and I use oil of Olay. So anyways, I know that it's too late for me to work for anyone. It's too late for me to report. Ruined. I am ruined. I am definitely ruined. So if you're a person who likes to, you have these ideas. So the thing that I'm going to put the moose on the table with some wives who weren't as supportive as Michelle. If you're watching your husband, or let's say it's a husband watching the wife, go through this, trying something over and over, and I have this great idea, and I have this great idea, and I have this great idea, and nothing, they don't get to that big houses, or they don't get to that big whatever it is. When is it time to hold and fold, or what? How can there be some balance in that?
Sure. Well, okay. So that's a fantastic question. And just because somebody has a desire to be, I've met a lot of people who have big ideas, but then they rush headlong into those ideas. And then what they end up doing is they end up crushing their nose against the wall or the pavement. One of the pieces of advice that I give regularly to people is, just because you think it's a good idea, does that mean the market actually wants it? So you have to do some research and see if people actually want. There's a great saying amongst speakers, which really you can change the language a little bit to apply to entrepreneurs. The speaker saying is, never let what you want to say get in the way of what the audience needs to hear. Never let what you want to sell get in the way of what the market wants to buy, right? The most successful people I've ever met in my life, and I'm going to break down a bunch of what I think are BS myths real quick, right. Okay?
Yep, belief systems.
People say, you want to pursue your passion and do something you're passionate about and find your bliss, and do that, and you'll make money with that. That's crap. That's the most stupid thing I've ever heard. That you get to do your bliss, you get to do your passions out of the abundance, out of the overflow of the success of your activities, whether that's success as a mail carrier and you saved your money, or you're a great surgeon and you make tremendous money, or you're an entrepreneur who hit it right and made money. You get to save the world with your abundance. There's a reason why. What's the number one killer in the world? Malaria. Who's after malaria? Bill Gates. Because, little Bobby Johnson over here, who doesn't have two nickels to rub together, can't really cure malaria. They can love the idea of fixing it, but it takes, which up until recently, for many, many years, the richest man in the world to chase down a huge problem. And so what I see a lot is people that say, I have this thing and I just know it's going to work, but they don't do any research. Any legit business is going to dig in a little deeper and see who's actually going to buy this thing that I want to promote. Now,
Good point.
Now, can I say one more thing on that?
Yeah.
30
please.
more seconds. So I own this company, Laughlin Associates, 45-year-old company. We form corporations, LLCs, and we do corporate compliance. There it is, motion sensitive. I need to have a dog in my room. Anyway, to walk around the whole time. Anyway, I'm not really passionate about forming corporations. To me, that's not like super sexy, fascinating work. But you know what is super sexy is when somebody comes up to me and says, I took your advice. I heard you give a speech, or I read your book, or I worked with your company and had this catastrophic event happen, like a lawsuit or a car wreck or something. And because of what you showed me to do, my company was safe. My family is okay.
Yeah.
I didn't lose it all.
Yeah.
When I made this tragic, the one that always comes to mind is a man who was in a car accident. He caused the accident, and he lost all of his personal belongings. They lost their home, their cars, their savings, everything, but they couldn't take his company so he could continue to provide for his family. And he said, at the simplest level, Aaron, you guys saved me millions of dollars. But on a higher level, you let me keep taking care of my family, taking care of my medical bills, taking care of my obligations. So to me, that's something to get passionate about.
Yep.
But it's not like I woke up one day and said, man, I love S Corporation so much. That would be so much fun to do that all with my life.
Right.
know?
And I'm going to give you a little commercial, actually, because I have an S corporation, and I know, because of my entrepreneurship, I know a lot of entrepreneurs who are just like me. Like, we know that we're supposed to do a board of directors meeting. We know we're supposed to have board of directors. We're supposed to do the paperwork. And then year after year, it's like, oh crap, we're in our 5th year and we don't have a good paper trail. And so Aaron is the one to call, who can very affordably put your stuff back into compliance. So that's your commercial. That was free.
That's a great commercial.
Yes.
Thank you for doing that. The fact is, that little program, our corporate veil protection program, which is so inexpensive and so comprehensive, it saves people's companies.
Right. Because I think your point earlier about it's only the beginning for an entrepreneur or any business person who says, I have an idea. Right? I have a great idea. And people think that in and of itself is enough to sustain the momentum of what it needs to. But a business is like a baby. It ain't that simple. We got to clothe it, got to feed it, got to take it to the bathroom. There's a whole level of care for businesses that, I didn't realize as well. And when we come back from break, I want to actually use you as my consultant on an issue that a lot of business owners have, and I'm not just talking about entrepreneurs. I'm talking to managers and directors. I don't know how many people I consult with where it's like, I know I need to let this go, and I know I need to let people do it for me so I can do more, but I can't just do that. There's something like, anyways, we'll talk about when we get back from break, because now is the time to thank the sponsors who make this show possible. So we'll be back with Aaron Scott Young and his business advice to entrepreneurs and more in 2 and 2. Remember, it's all about peace in and peace out. Do you live in Southern California? Want a great car wash with an instant discount? Want to save big on a car detail? Then mention Dr. Marissa at the Cypress Car Spa for up to $40 off of a professional detail package and any $4 off any wash. Cypress Car Wash is located at the corner of Valley View and Cerritos, 6000 Cerritos Avenue. So get ready to save. Mention Dr. Marissa at Cypress Car Spa and save today. Okay, jazz lovers, it's time to celebrate life with a Catalina Island weekend getaway with jazz greats like Rick Braun, Richard Elliott, Manhattan Transfer, Take 6, Gerald Albright, and Norman Brown. Don't miss the 31st Jazz Tracks Festival at the beautiful Avalon Casino on Catalina Island 2 weekends, October 12th and 19th. Tickets are selling out fast, so go to jazztracks.com. That's jazztracks with an X.com today. And we are back. My name is Dr. Marissa. You are tuned in to Take My Advice. I'm not using it. Get balanced with Dr. Marissa every Tuesday at naturally high noon out of the Sunset Gower Studios in Hollywood, California with Universal Broadcasting Network. And then every Thursday at 7, Saturday at 1 on my syndicated CNBC, NBC News radio channel, KCAA, AM 1050, FM 102.3, FM 106.5, and everywhere on iHeartRadio. And today we are talking about unshackling yourself and your business with business guru Aaron Scott Young, fellow faculty member at CEO Space International. He just gave us 2 bits, and I'm going to go for a third, using myself as an example. I've been in business a couple of decades now. I've had to rebuild several times. 1, because I moved back from Europe. 2, because of the divorce, lost the consulting company and had to reincorporate in 2007. And I have a speaking arm. I have a consulting arm with my organizational psychologist. I have a speaking arm. I have a writing arm. I have a faculty arm. I have a lot of arms. And I just signed a book contract with a New York publisher coming out with a book next year, 8 Ways to Happiness. That was my commercial. Nice. And I have this show, and I love this show, and I love doing this show. And I am a one-man band with an assist from my sound engineer and call-in producer Jarvis Essex. But other than that, I don't have anyone selling my sponsorship ads. I have tried to find people to sell. I know that I'm in that, the fear, and I know that I'm not alone. So this is asking on behalf of all entrepreneurs who have a belief system that I can do it all, number 1. And 2, I can't afford to hire anyone to offload to. And if I did, I'm now responsible for them. And what if I can't make payroll? And number 3, every time I train someone, they end up leaving, either because they realize that's not what they wanted to do, or I am a difficult boss. I'll be honest with that. I am a recovering perfectionist and a tiger mom. Ask my kids. So what would you say to me? And I know I'm not alone. What would you say to me about what to do next?
Stop doing what you're doing now. It's everything you just described is a totally common thing amongst small entrepreneurs.
Good. I don't feel so alone.
What happens is they start to build the business up. They start to make a little bit more money from being in a position where they didn't make a lot of money. And they're able to get a little nicer car, nicer place to live. They're starting to do a little more travel. And they feel that stretch of like, I don't really have enough time to do everything I'm supposed to do. And so they think, well, if I just had some help, but I'm consuming all the money the business is making. Mm. And so if I hire somebody, and I don't even know if they'll be any good, I don't know if I'll do a good job of hiring, or I don't know if I'll know how to train them. But if I hire somebody, that means I take a pay cut, right? Mm-hmm. And so what we're doing is we're just self-employed when we're in that zone. We're self-employed. Okay. We still have a job, except for now we're responsible for creating the money, not just doing the work.
Right.
The thing that to become unshackled, you have to figure out a way, and usually what it requires is you have to reduce your lifestyle a little bit so you can take a little bit of that surplus and bring on that virtual assistant, bring on the part-time employee that's going to make phone calls for you, the college student who will go out there and sell sponsorships for you, and so on. And you're paying them a little bit of money. And every time you do anything, anytime you say, okay, we're going to try this experiment, you have to really track it closely. How many calls did they make? What words were they using? What to accomplish the goal? Right. And you figure out what does work and what doesn't work. What does work, you do more of. What doesn't work, you stop. And what happens is you start to make little incremental improvements in your cash flow, so that you can now bring that person on full time. The increments grow, and now you got one employee and you. And pretty soon you start to see the revenue coming in for the business. Part of it is for you, part of it's for the machine, part of it's for your advertising, part of it's for whatever. You do that for a few years, and then, Marissa, here's what happens. All of a sudden, if you've been paying attention to what's working, what's not working, all of a sudden you realize, oh my gosh, I'm having $10,000 days, or I'm having $50,000 days, and I'm able to keep increasing my pay. Now all of a sudden I'm making as a salary maybe a small portion of what the company revenues are, but my salary is exceeding dramatically what I was making when I was trying to do it all by myself. Can I share something?
Yeah, please.
When I was in prison, so remember I spent a couple $1 million in legal fees.
Yeah.
And then I left my business in the hands of the team that I had built that runs the business. Right. I own it. Along with a business partner, but I own this business. We have this great team. The year that I was in prison, my personal income was $974,000.
Wow.
Well, I couldn't do anything on my business. I couldn't take a phone call. I couldn't have a meeting. I couldn't write letters or give instructions. I had to completely be hands off. But that works, because if you put the right processes in place, the right team in place, and I don't mean you get lucky with team. This is all intentionally done. I teach a class about this called the Unshackled Owner, because so many people want to know, how do you build these multi-million-dollar companies and you never go to work? How do you just hang out on the goat farm all the time and travel around all the time? And so I finally started teaching a class about it. And I don't know if that was what we were going to talk about today, but my point is, what I'm teaching you is what I teach people that pay me a substantial amount of money to go through the class, which is, first is, what's the outcome you want? Second one is, if you could design it on paper, what would all the team members need to be to accomplish your big goal? And then how do you bring on the first person and then the second person, and how do you know? And these are things that you learn. I've been doing this. I've been signing my own checks for 34 years. Right. I've employed hundreds and hundreds of people.
Oil of Olay too.
Me? No, I was 4 years old when I started. No, but no, I'm 53 years old, and every one of these gray hairs I earned, every one of these, and the bald spot back here that you can't see, that I blow dry my hair to cover it up. No, but anyway, no. But the point is I've earned every one of the gray hairs. Yeah. But I learned early. I learned early in my career some things that worked, and I paid attention to what they were, and I duplicated them and added on to them, to where it went from a little company of 4 people to still a small company of about 40 people. But I do a lot of interesting projects, and we use the same exact process in every single project, whether it's developing real estate or doing services or selling products or doing all the speaking and so on. It's the exact same process all the time.
Right. Now, what % of people that you hire actually stay? And is there a magic formula to find that person?
Well, my average tenure at Laughlin Associates, see my hat right up here? Yeah. My average tenure at Laughlin right now is just over 13 years.
Okay. So
people come to work and stay working. We bought the company in 2001. So that's 16 years ago. They at that time had 300% turnover. Wow. So every year you had 3 different people in each one of those jobs, or, on average. Right. We turned that around using the same process I've always used. And once we turned we had to recover from their bad reputation in a small town, Carson City, Nevada. But once we did that, people started to come in, they fell in love with the job, they stayed. It's not that you necessarily find like this magical unicorn person. It's that you bring a very regular person in who has a good attitude, and you put them in a position where they both know what the big vision is, how they fit into the vision, how their work moves towards the vision, and how they help people. And also you have to empower them. You said you were kind of a controlling boss, a very difficult perfectionist boss. Well, my belief is you need to empower these human resources to make decisions about things that they're dealing with every single day that I only maybe see once in a while. And if you tell somebody what the vision is, how they fit into the vision, and empower them to act in the office that you've assigned them to, they will love their job because they feel ownership of it. And they're not just being bossed around. You're not hiring, as my I was going to say friend, he's my acquaintance, but he's kind of a guy I really look up to, Keith Cunningham. You haven't just hired their arms and their legs, but rather you've won over their hearts and their heads. And that's how you get people to stay with you and find solutions that you had no ability to find, and solve problems in the moment instead of having to make the customer wait.
So I have to, at the risk of sounding defensive here, I'm a recovering perfectionist, so I'm better than I used to be on
But I'm looking at you here on our Zoom connection, and you look pretty perfect. So I mean, I don't know.
But then the other thing is too, the attitude that you say you need in a person, and this is a pet peeve of mine. It seems like the people that I meet, a lot of people that want a job or want to work with me, they want what they want, but they're not willing to do what I need.
So all the people that work for me, I learned many years ago, they only work for me to get what they want. Right? So they come to work for me and they put in their time to earn money to do whatever matters to them in their life. Now, if they can enjoy their time with me at my company, that's better. But I know that they're working to fund their life. And so what I tried to do early on, and we continue to do this, is figure out, we sit down once a year with our employees and say, what are your dreams right now? What is it you're working on? What do you need? And what we try to do is figure out ways that we can help them get to their goal by them doing extraordinary work. And so it's like, well, here's our goal. What do you think you could do? And is there a way for us to mesh your goals and the company goals together so that if you ring this bell, you're going to be able to have the money for that trip to Paris or that new truck? Or as one person said last year, they need grass in their backyard. We need a lawn in our backyard and we can't afford it. So when somebody's making $15 an hour, that lawn is super expensive. Right? So, but you have to, so the idea here is, first of all, probably a lot of people come to you because they want to latch on to you, like hook onto your star. But what you want to do is find people who there's a process that I learned 30 years ago from Stephen Covey, a hiring program. And when you write a job description, you use DGRAC. DIGRAC, desired results, guidelines, resources, accountability, and consequences, both for success and failure. When you create job descriptions around those things, here's the desired result. You're going to accomplish this goal. The guidelines, you're going to come into work from 8 to 5. You're going to use our computers. You're going to go to these meetings. Resources. Here's the computer. Here's the phone. Here's the list. Here's the training. Here's the upline mentor. Accountability. Here's how you're going to be reporting. Here's who your boss is. Consequences. If you succeed, you get moved up. You get this bonus. You get these spiffs. If you fail, you get retrained. You get moved, or you get released. Right?
So everything is clear. It's
super clear.
Go ahead.
But most entrepreneurs, they don't have enough forethought to put it into that kind of a context because they don't even know where they're going. How can I tell you if I don't know where I'm going myself? So I say, I want you to be my salesperson. Go get people to get sponsorships for me. But what's the vision that they're trying to explain to that car wash, right? Or whatever that you were just showing on your commercials. It's not just, hey, advertise on my show because you'll get more clients. It's like Dr. Marissa stands for this. This is the kind of audience she draws because she she presents this message. Her people are committed to her because she gives them this hope in their life. So when you work with Dr. Marissa versus, Bob the Builder over here, she's got a more dedicated client. Plus the radio station is located here. So we're going to drive people into your location, not into all Mako auto painting places across the country.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah,
we're going to laser in on this community.
Right. Good, good
These
advice.
I don't know. I could just get on a soapbox on this stuff.
No, but I think the overall, people have mentioned, you're doing more business shows. And one, obviously, I've met more business people at CEO Space International, so we can blame that on that. But I wanted to take some responsibility around, I'm the big encourager about if you really hate your job and if you really hate what you're doing, don't quit your job. Don't move into something just because it's your bliss, but first get into gratitude about where you are. But let's be smart about developing what it is that you want to do. And so you and several other of my guests have been really great at, practically, this is what you have to do. So the takeaway that I'm going to summarize, see if I was listening today, is one, spend some time. It's always good. You do have to invest in order to reap. So invest with someone who's done this before, like Aaron, who will help you with that process. Or if you don't want to invest, just do some visioning, some clear business plan visioning. There's also a less expensive option called SCORE, which I love. They're a group of businessmen, successful, who are retired, who want to give back. So find your local SCORE office and do that work to figure out what it is, that vision, and what, where you want to go to. And then what I should do is begin to build little by little, starting with things I do want to let go of and trust and train. And the biggest thing that I got today from you is let go of the expectation that someone else is supposed to love what you're doing. They're doing it ultimately to fund their dreams. They don't have to be eating, drinking, smoking, smelling your dream. I thank you for that. That's like huge, because I would be disappointed if they weren't as cheerleadery about what I was doing as what they want to do. And that's an unrealistic expectation of mine.
Yeah, that's their thing. What you want to do is, remember, your employees are neither your slaves nor your best friend, family people.
Right.
They're human resources. You're bringing in the very best people that you can afford, who are awesome at that particular task. And then you want to empower them to go out and be successful at doing that, knowing that they're going to work harder for you and for a vision of being successful, if they're also getting what they need in their life.
Yeah.
And that's not necessarily achieving your dream, it's achieving their goals and dreams. But believe me, if they feel good during those 8 or 9 hours that they're on the clock for you, they're going to tell people about you. They're going to work harder for you, and they're going to stay with you because they feel ownership of their job.
Yeah. Yeah.
So these are just little pieces that go into becoming unshackled.
Yeah.
But I'll tell you, when you finally learn the system and you become an unshackled owner, not out of prison owner, but an owner who owns the business, is not the most important employee of the business.
Right.
When you get to that zone, which is what all really, really successful people have learned to do, your life, everything you thought was great, just gets bigger and more, more high definition.
Yeah.
And that's what's available to people if they just learn the steps.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Aaron. I want to direct everybody. He's got a bunch of free, really great resources on his site, aaronscottyoung.com. There's a download of ebook, Critical Factors, right? And then
the Critical 20.
The Critical 20, which we got to, I think, 3, right? There's somewhere in there.
The Critical 20 is the biggest mistakes business makes,
okay,
and how to avoid them. You can get it right at aaronscottyoung.com down at the bottom of the homepage.
Perfect. And then he's been kind enough to do an extra Asian Oprah giveaway of a consult with him. So the first one, to go to my website, the number 4balance.org, and fill out the form saying, I want Aaron. will get that free consult. And the last thing I always ask my guests are, who would you like to be grateful to for helping you be as fabulous as you are? And I know what you're going to say.
Yeah.
So
Isn't that
Michelle,
terrible?
Michelle.
You know what? Listen,
I love her, and I love her.
Michelle Pearson Young is not only my bride of 30 years, but my greatest example, my greatest muse, my greatest supporter, my greatest defender. I mean, she's been phenomenal. And if you could have seen her 10 years ago go through that prison thing, how she managed our children and how she took care of me through the lowest point of my life, it sanctified that relationship in a way I didn't even know was possible. So thank you for asking. I'm always super grateful for Michelle.
And I want what you have with her, for sure. That's setting my intention. I said the same thing to Adam and his wife when they were on the show. But
Adam,
anyways,
Markel, Randy,
yeah, absolutely. So thank you so much again, Aaron Scott Young on my show. And we have a couple, we're going to speed into this. I'm already running over. Welcome to the Balance Bar. Just finished round 74 yesterday. Make sure you sign up for round 75 of the 21-day fast from complaining with Dr. Marissa. If you manage 21 consecutive days in round 74, contact me at my website so I can give you a free pack of my motivational cards. And don't forget to get the app in time for the next one developed by teens. Just search Dr. Marissa on both stores. Just to let you know, I was asked by the editor of The Sun to write a monthly column for the beach communities, Sunset, Seal, and Huntington Beaches, and it's called What If with Dr. Marissa. If you'd like to read it, email me and I'll send you a free PDF version. Join me on the beach this Saturday for the Agape Beach Party, and you'll see me on Sunday on stage with it is Choir Sunday. For those of you who have been asking about my outgoing song after every show, it is me singing. I used to be a lounge lizard and at big venues around town like the Piano Bar in Antwerp and Sunset and Vine Romantic Blue, Simply Blues in Hollywood. I came out of retirement to sing with the amazing Agape International Choir under the direction of my super choir boss, Ricky BB. So join me Sunday in Culver City or Lovestream at agapelive.com. Also, an extra Asian Oprah giveaway, tickets to the Jazz Tracks Catalina Jazz Festival. Go to jazztracks.com. It was one of my sponsors, and go to my Facebook and message me for a free pass for one of the weekends. Also, next week, it is the last week of the month, time for Marvin Gaye and Sexual Healing with Dr. Marissa, also known as the Asian Dr. Ruth. My guest, Kiyomi, will be here. She came out of the cancer closet and is going through her healing process using holistic healing from breast cancer. So if you're going through that, you'll want to tune in. She'll also be my sexual healing client, as I'm going to coach her live on how to bring more pleasure into her life, because I'm determined to make pleasure a G-rated topic. So tune in next week for more. Take my advice. I'm not using it. Get balanced with Dr. Marissa Pay. That's P for positive, EI. Remember, it's all about balance. Peace in and peace out.
I learned to cry at an early age. People around me, my heart in a cage. Life was a book, don't turn a page. I couldn't see past my rage.